Morning, this is Gracie Opulentha and I'm all about eccentric and opulent lifestyle. You can find out a lot more about me on gracieopulentha.com. I have many fur coats. They're all vintage. Now, Stella McCartney and Gucci have chosen to not do anything in fur. Fendi still does fur coats. Fur coats are the most sustainable textile you'll ever have. And when they start to molt, what you can do is you can go and dig a hole and give it back to Mother Nature. You can't do that with fake fur. And fast fashion is everything opposite to these thousands and thousands of olive trees. And today I want to inspire you why you need to make that personal decision of investing in vintage fur. VintageStyleClothing.com is my blog. Like and subscribe, read it. Fur is like a vaccine. You either opt for it or you don't. The choice is yours. But I want to keep just reminding people that fur coat, they molt, you can bury them, give them back to Mother Nature. It's an animal. And there's hundreds of thousands and thousands of fur coats all over the world that are being unused, thanks to Gucci, Stella McCartney. Who are they to dictate to you and us what's right as a fashion decision? They're only doing it so you go and buy from them. It's a marketing stunt, right? Now fur, I'm in a stone Tuscan home. They're absolutely freezing in the winter. 9 times out of the 10, these Tuscan homes are not insulated. They haven't got double glazing, and they've got, I'll show you my floor. This is a 17th century stone farmhouse. Can you imagine how freezing this is in the winter? Okay, I've got my fireplace. I've not done a winter in here, but I damn know it's going to be freezing. Gas, oil and electricity in Italy is one of the most expensive in Europe. So, how do you stay warm? I've got central heating, but I ain't banking on that too much. Last villa that I had cost me an arm and a leg in gas oil, and I was still frozen. What saved me were my fur coats. Opting for a fur coat is a personal decision. It's like vaccine or no vaccine. And the likes of Stella McCartney and Gucci have no right to dictate to you and gaslight you and make you feel guilty for buying vintage fur. It's done. It's been popular, and there are indigenous people that still require it. People in Russia, it's -40. You need fur to stay warm. So if you get access to a vintage fur, don't feel guilty about it, because it's done, the animal's killed, and it keeps you warm. And if you've had enough of it, you can just dig a hole and give it back to Mother Nature. You can't do that with Zara and Primark and Boohoo and Gucci and Stella McCartney, can you? They're all fake fur. It's not biodegradable. So you go and support your Gucci and your Stella McCartney and their millions and billions. They're gaslighting you. They're selling you a lie. Let's go back to the vintage fur. Now, I've got mink, I've got fox, I've got seal, I've got shearling, and I'm going to do a video on what's the difference. First of all, with the fur, let me talk to you about assembling a fur coat. It is the highest of skill. Creating a fur coat is like a Bentley or a Rolls Royce, right? It takes skill, craftsmanship, patience, because what happens in this lining, now I am going to pull apart a particular coat because I've got many. I'm going to show you. It's like patchwork. the minusculous of cut with a very specific tool to assemble these coats. It's incredible. It's a lost art. Italy is still very fur obsessed. There's so many vintage fur coats you can buy in Italy. They are a lot more expensive. If you want to try and buy fur because you're not sure about it, because you've been gaslighted and bullied by Gucci and Stella McCartney, then go to Holland, really cheap, and then wear it and see how you feel. And if you don't like it, you either give it back to the charity shop or go and bury it, because it's biodegradable, it's an animal. So, the craftsmanship and the skill of assembling a fur coat is like a Bentley, a Ferrari, a Rolls-Royce. Like and subscribe if you're liking my approach to enticing you to buy a vintage fur. In menstylefashion.com, it's my other magazine. I've driven a Ferrari, a Bentley and a Rolls-Royce. I know, craftsmanship at the utmost, so you can check that out, even on Opulenza. So, fur is biodegradable. If you don't like it, and if your fur has an end of a time and it molts, and it will because it's animal, go and dig it in and give it back to Mother Nature. You cannot do that with fake fur or fox fur. So keep supporting Zara, Primark and Gucci and Stella McCartney. You are not being kind to the environment. Now, Fendi also upcycles vintage fur. And to upcycle, let's say if we wanted to cut this fur coat up, the skill, the time and the technique is the best of hand craftsmanship in the world. It's a dying art. I find if you put in Arezzo in my YouTube, there's an antique market and they sell lots of vintage fur and they upcycle it, because that's the problem, isn't it? How do you turn something like this that doesn't look like your grandma or your nonna and give it a cut? You can turn this into a Gillette, cut this off, make it shorter, more enticing. But it's not just cutting up any fabric, silk, let alone linen or cotton. There's a skill, there's an art to it. Because inside is like patchwork. And they cut it minuscule technique and sew it together. That's why you've got the silk lining. Because you don't want to see the work of what they've done. But I am going to pull one apart. That's how committed I am, enticing you to buy a vintage fur. Go to Holland, they dump them. And then if you don't feel you like it, give it back, give it away, or bury it, because it's biodegradable. But you keep going to Gucci, you keep going to Stella McCartney, who's gaslighting you into saying that it's animal cruelty. The animal's dead. For vintage, it's done and dusted. What's more tragic, that they're not being used and just sitting there to rot. That's the tragedy, right? I'm an animal lover. I grew up on a farm. Animals, they were working animals. I totally get it. I wouldn't go out and buy a real fur. They're really expensive and there's no need to. There's so much vintage fur out there. That's what you should be buying. Holland, the cheapest. And Italy still commands a decent price for fur. There are a lot of antique furs. And be mindful. If it's molting, falling off, don't buy it. If it stinks, don't buy it. There is so much fur out there. Now, there are different types of fur. And here you can see there's a technique, it's a shaving technique. Look at that, I liked it. I got this in a charity shop I've seen a lot of these. This was a really, really brilliant quality. I paid €100 for it, but it's a fantastic quality. And then this is what it would have looked like originally. Now, I will find out whether this is a fox fur, if anyone can tell me, or a rabbit fur. Because rabbit fur is very, 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 very fluffy. I'll get an expert to look at this. I'm going for whether it's a fox fur or a rabbit fur, but this, they've shaved it, which is a little bit of a tragedy because I would have loved for it to be like this. But can you see the contrast? And how do you spot a fake fur versus real fur? I did a video years ago and I'll show you. But really, really simple test. I mean, they're not going to let you unstitch to have a look. But you can just see, you can see the animal skin and you can feel it. There's none exposed here. But you can definitely feel the difference between fake fur and real fur. Like here on the corners, you'll be able to feel the animal's skin. And I guess, yeah, it comes down to, can you wear the animal? It's dead. I'm talking about vintage coats. You don't need to go out and buy brand new ones. There's a lot of vintage coats. If you're not sure about it, go to Holland. They're dumping them. Even in Rome, I picked up some coats for €20. And then decide. And if you don't like it, give it back, give it away, or bury it, give it back to Mother Nature. It's biodegradable. That Gucci and Stella McCartney, who's gaslighting you, bullying you, dictating you because they want you to buy from them, their fur, fake fur, will never be able to be buried there because it's not biodegradable. How sustainable is that? Kering Group, LVMH Group, Stella McCartney. There you go. It's really important. So, if it molts, then get rid of it. It's not good. And it can, and I did have one. Look at the technique in this. To assemble a fur coat takes weeks. And if it's really, really expensive, definitely. And it's like patchwork. Minuscule tool to cut it up like patchwork, and then they have to stitch it together, and then they cover it with a silk lining just for the finish. Now I'm in two minds whether this is a rabbit or a fox fur. If anyone can help me with that. And then this shaving technique. Or it could be a coyote. Yeah. I don't know why, for the life of me, that they don't put the label of what animal fur these are. Can anyone tell me why they don't highlight and put in the stitching what animal it is? Now this one, I don't know who owned it. There's no label on it. There are also independent fur makers in the past that would have just done things commissioned. Maybe this was commissioned. Right, let me turn it around. Let me put it. Oh, look at that. Hold on. Now, how do you stir your coats? You put them in a cloth bag. Don't hang them up to avoid the winter. Oh, look. Can I tell you, I'm guessing that isn't. This isn't rabbit. It's got to be fox. You know the reason I can tell you that? Look at the hair here. It's very, very coarse. And that's the original. It's a pretty big rabbit if we think about it as well. Let's have a look. So store it in a cloth bag, a big cloth bag, fold it up, they don't crease, and you store it away. And put a bit of lavender in it so that little creatures don't eat it. And also beautiful, beautiful smell. There you go, look. Oh, that's me eating a croissant. And just wipe that, whatever you do, don't wash your fur. Jeez. I don't know, even if anyone today could even, would you dry clean fur? It's animal, you don't need to. Have a look. So the craftsmanship of assembling a fur coat. I buy vintage coats only. There's so many out there. Don't let Stella McCartney gaslight you, let alone Gucci, into buying their fake fur. As I said, like, subscribe if you're enjoying my video. Buying a fur coat is like a vaccine. You either opt for it or you don't. It's a personal choice. If you want to try it out, get a cheap one, see how you feel, walk around the house, and if you don't feel good, give it away, give it back, or give it back to Mother Nature. It's biodegradable, unlike Gucci and Stella McCartney. And really, honestly, go for a good quality vintage fur. That I've seen people walking around with hideous ones that have had their time and day. You don't need to be, I guess it depends on each country. Belgium too, where I got my mink, they're not into fur. Italy's still into fur. A lot of still fur coat places. And Arezzo, put that in my YouTube, and it's an antique market where you can pick them up. But Italy, you'll have to pay about 500 plus, where I paid 100 for this, and the majority I've never paid no more than €100, and the cheapest are 20. So here's the suede. Oh, that coming apart. Look at the stitching, just imagine the time. This isn't machine done, by the way. Got to do it all by hand. So it's exactly like patchwork. Minuscule cuts, assemble it, stitch it by hand, and then they put the silk lining. This is why, it's a tragedy that we get gaslighted by LVMH Group, the Kering Group, Gucci, Stella McCartney, saying to us, not to wear fur coats. I buy vintage coats for the simple reason I like them. I'm in Tuscany. I lived in a ski resort area. Keeps me warm. I like the feel of it. I do like the attention it gets. I've never had anyone come up to me and say, oh, that's disgusting. I went to London Fashion Week, and London Fashion Week men, no one came up to me, not one person, me wearing fur. Okay, can you see there? Can you see the animal? Let me get that again, because you might be able to see the stitching. But that's how you can tell it's real fur. And I just want to take a closer look. Yeah. Can you see the stitching? It's like patchwork. It's really, really a lost art. Like, subscribe. I'm going to be doing a lot more on fur coats. It's a personal choice. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. It is sustainable. It's very sustainable fashion. And you can just bury it. So get out there, try it on, be open, and support the vintage coats that are sitting there that need love, wear, and attention and care. Because I can tell you, in my Tuscan home, and I will when it's winter, I'm going to show you how cold it really gets and why I wear them. And I ski in them. They're animal fur. They're very robust. Even if snow goes on it, doesn't matter. It's animal fur, dries.